Funny.
Kevin, did you turn my microphone off?
I know, yeah.
Kevin, did you turn my microphone off?
Just in case they got.
Apparently the answer is yes, because he's not answering.
I'm the Jericho of New Zealand.
Oh.
Keep asking why my
Yeah, I'm
microphone's
gonna
off.
see him,
Okay, why is Daniel's microphone off?
I was looking at.
I mean, I can project if you ask me to.
Oh,
Because I'm not here for
He's
vacation.
got that stage voice.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't think
Oh,
of it.
no.
It's like, it starts a couple of days before I leave.
yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, sorry.
How's everybody doing today? Apparently, Mikel's the only one whose microphone works, so he'll be moderating.
I think my microphone works.
So everyone except mine works. So.
That's because they need to actually understand what I'm saying. I'm from New Zealand, so that's why I talk funny. So if you have any, I guess, questions about, like, if you need any clarification with anything I say, just let me know.
Ramon, speak up.
Can you hear me? Yeah?
Yeah, I get them on here, you get them on there.
How about me, Kevin? Because I can barely hear me, and I'm right here. Can you hear me? Seriously?
Can you each check your mic?
Yeah, can you? 1, 2, 1, 2.
No, I get that.
1, 2, 1, 2.
I hear him.
Yeah, testes,
I
1,
hear
2, 3.
him.
Testing.
That's not my microphone, I just do my Barry White voice.
Mr. Daniels,
I hear
handsome bald
myself.
guy.
I got everything right now.
Handsome bald
Yeah.
guy. Hello. I swear I only hear myself from myself and not the mic.
What?
You got a full head.
Oh, yeah.
You're leading us
Yeah,
down, bro.
yeah, you love my ass.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Put that on, bro.
It looks like a haircut microphone.
Again?
All a little bit, all the way.
Again?
I feel a little overdressed.
What's happening? Hold on. Here we have something sprinting to the front. My friend is sprinting to the front to help me.
Okay.
That's his game.
Check 1, 2. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, check.
No. You got a future in the Olympics, bro.
This one's not. Am I wrong?
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, actually, because I think. well,
Hey, check. It'd be nice if people didn't mute these.
So turn it on is basically what I needed to do.
That's okay. I fall down for a living, so I'm very stupid. I make bad life choices. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Hand a round of applause for my friend.
All right. Are we ready now?
Yes.
Kevin.
Take your head off, Kevin. Join the club.
I don't know, should I do it with the hat or without?
It's up to you, Doctor. It's your head, baby.
I don't think covering that thing is ever a bad move.
Male pattern baldness is well represented.
First of all, I never got to use one of these Bob Barker pencil-thin microphones with the eraser on top. Make sure you have your text to get all the way up on it, so I gotta be all like this, or?
Can you guys hear me if I talk like this?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, what up the, oh, yeah, what time is this? Is it after 6? All right, fuck it.
Oh, yeah, we're really Yeah.
Well, what up the WonderCon? It's your boy KG from the Kevin Gill Show, and I'm honored to be part of, once again, one of these groundbreaking headlocked comic panels. We've done them around the country, but now we're bringing it to WonderCon for the first time ever. We've got an esteemed cast of guests up here. The guests are what it's all about, and they are who I want to introduce you to right about now. All the way down on the far end of the stage is an amazing artist. You know him from many things, such as, Mike, the new thing you were just telling me about.
Oh, yeah. No, right on.
Put him
No,
on.
no.
Where were you?
Talk
I'm
about
doing a book called Nighthawk at Marvel Comics.
Jeez, man, you think Mike Kingston never did a pass before, brother. Well, his name, you may be hearing about his new book now, but his work is legendary. Please welcome to the panel, Ramon Villalobos.
We apologize to the Hispanic community for the mispronunciation of Mr. Villalobos' name. We apologize.
Yes, I apologize to everyone too. As you guys noticed, I'm just the host, but I was like cooking up sound shit or whatever. So I apologize for digressing.
White people problems, right, Ramon?
White people problems.
Christopher got it.
Yeah,
It was
all
on
right.
page
Leave it to a bloody Samoan to play the race card.
That's all I've got.
But speaking of the man playing the race card, but we're kidding. He is the Bloody Samoan. He is an outstanding artist, and he is the principal artist on the Headlocked graphic novel series. Please welcome, I call him the Bloody Samoan. You know him as Michel. Say it again, Michael Kingston.
Mulipola.
Mulipola. Yeah, no, as I said, I'm from New Zealand, so it's kind of good to be 12 hours away from home. Yeah, because if you've been to New Zealand, you don't want to go there.
New Zealand's pretty cool, man.
Paid for by the New Zealand Port Authority and Chamber of Commerce.
The golden vocal tones you hear there, you may recognize them from the Saints Row video game. You may well recognize them from the amazing promos they cut on Impact Wrestling, or the voice that currently calls spots and calls the shots at a great company called Ring of Honor Wrestling. He's also contributed to the Headlocked graphic novel series. Please give a warm pro wrestling welcome to the great fallen angel, Christopher Daniels. Our most burly and baldest panelist is the reason we're all here tonight. He likes no credit or adulation, so I'm just going to mostly adhere to his wishes. But he's the guy that makes all this magic happen. He is the writer that writes the stories that then these artists get to illustrate. Please welcome the creator of the Headlocked graphic novel series, my man, Michael Kingston. And I, of course, did you have a word, Mike Kingston? You good?
What up?
Thumbs up.
You can see why we always have other guests with Michael Kingston. In your hotel room, he'll talk a lot, but you give him that microphone and he becomes like a silent film star.
Uh-oh, young children, let's watch the language from now on.
Hello, kids. Welcome to the panel. And my name, of course, is KG Kevin Gill. I have a podcast called The Kevin Gill Show. You can hear this episode on there, along with many others. But I digress, because we're here today to talk about comic books and pro wrestling. There's a great many things that are the same across both industries and art forms. You know what I mean? You have larger-than-life figures clad often in spandex of bright colors. You have superhuman characters fighting superhuman evil. And here is the crossroads of those worlds, is the Headlocked graphic novel series. Going down the panel here, I'd like to talk a little bit more about comics and wrestling specifically. Say, starting with the fallen angel, Christopher Daniels. Tell us a little bit about your contributions to the Headlocked series.
Okay, well, first of all, I've known Mike for a good long while now. When he first introduced Headlocked into the comics world, he contacted a lot of us pro wrestlers, especially the ones that he knew had comic book love or comic book ties. And so he contacted me, he contacted a lot of us, and showed us his work. And his first, a single-step graphic novel spoke to me as a young man who sort of went through that same learning curve that Mike, the lead character in the series, goes through. And it was the one thing that I saw that I was very surprised by, knowing that Mike specifically had never been in a locker room or never been trained as a pro wrestler, how much of training to be a pro wrestler at the first 6 weeks, the first 3 months of being a pro wrestler, how much of that he got right and how much of it was very similar to what I went through at Windy City Pro Wrestling in 1993. So I was astounded that a man who really had never walked that road, he had a good handle on the way it was, and that's a testament to his preparation and his creativity to go and do the research and figure out exactly what it entailed, and then telling the story from the point of view of a guy coming in at the ground floor and starting from scratch. And so he contacted me, he showed me his stuff. I was impressed with his work. I got to do an introduction for that first trade paperback, and then as he became more and more successful, he opened his second Kickstarter. He asked me to contribute a 6-page story, which I gladly did. And hopefully everybody who contributed to the Kickstarter, if any of you are here, I hope you liked my story. If not, please don't tell me, because my ego would be crushed.
Now, Michel, you also are a decorated professional wrestler in your native land of New Zealand, in addition to being an accomplished artist. Just recently, just the other day, in fact, you co-captured Tag Team Gold with the great Haku, a.k.a. Ming, the toughest man in wrestling. But that's a digression within a question, because my question is, talk about your contributions to Headlocked, please, and how you came to be associated.
Well, yeah, a few years ago, I first met Mike at San Diego Comic-Con in 2011, I think it was. And I was actually there because I won like 10 grand for a Facebook competition of all things. And
What kind of competition?
it was just pretty much like this energy drink was saying, hey, tell us how we can pimp your lives to an amount of $10,000. And so I was like, I'm an aspiring comic book artist. And what I want to do is go to San Diego Comic-Con and see if I've got the goods, really. I was kind of a big deal in New Zealand, like my work was pretty shit hot, if I can,
All right.
if I can toot my own horn.
Ethically.
But I wanted to really see where I really stood on the international stage. So I entered this competition. I actually did a 2-page comic using the energy drink, transforming someone into a superhero. And I ended up winning, which was crazy because I'm a poor kid from a bad part of town. And so with that money, I was like, I'm going to San Diego Comic-Con. That's like, I wasn't going to waste it. I really wanted to give myself a chance.
Bro, you're sitting on 10 grand and we're doing Kickstarter?
That was a few years ago.
Yeah, this was before Kickstarter. You either worked for money or you won money. There was no middle ground.
And so yeah, so that's what led me to San Diego Comic-Con. And I met Mike, I saw Headlocked, and I was like, oh, wrestling comic. It actually looks like it's about wrestling. So I came up to him and I said, oh, hey, I'm a pro wrestler from New Zealand. He's like, oh, yeah, whatever. He goes, oh, here's my artwork. I'm also a comic book artist. And he was like, whoa, damn, this stuff's awesome. We've got to do something together. So that's how we started. And then I showed up to San Diego the following year as well and did a short comic. And he loved my stuff so much, he was like, oh, you've got to be the artist. And so yeah, that's how I met Mike, and it's been great ever since. And like being a pro wrestler as well. Oh no, because so don't Google me or anything. My stuff is rubbish. I try and bring some of that knowledge to the page as well. If any of you have read Headlocked or aware of it, each time I draw the wrestling action, I always make sure everything's legit. From like holds to everything, just like being very respectful to the art of pro wrestling, because I love it. I don't love it as much as I do comics, but I love it enough to give it the respect it needs and it has earned. So yeah, so that's kind of my thing as well. Being a wrestler and a comic book artist, I tell stories. That's my job. I'm a storyteller. One in the ring and one on the page. So yeah, that's my deal with Headlocked and dealing with Mike for years.
And how about you, Ramon? How did you come to be associated?
I met Michael at like a convention years ago, and I kind of just was like, it was one of my first shows, and I was just trying to get like anything going, and I gave him my card, and he just like put it away for years. But in the meantime, I became a very successful comic book artist, and then he contacted me, and I was like, okay, yeah, sure, Mike, why not? But I've been a fan of professional wrestling like my whole life. Like even before I liked it, my grandpa would have it on TV. So the whole time I was just sort of retaining this information. And like you said, there's a big like overlap on the Venn diagram of like comics and wrestling. And when I was, you said it more eloquently than you too, I read there. Oh, absolutely. I should do a podcast.
Bury the host. I'm here to make you guys look good. Take your shots.
In the meantime, I was just like, I was in love with wrestling, and when I was doing my comic stuff, when I would try and like relax and like get focused on it, I would look at a lot of wrestling like pictures, and I would try and capture like the energy and like the forms of wrestlers, because I think the whole like what they do is tell stories with like their bodies, and a lot of comics is trying to like capture those moments. So a lot of times when I'm just kind of like trying to unwind, I do that sort of like in meditation almost. And me and my friends have been like obsessing over ring gear for years. So like eventually when I started like trying to make a name for myself, I was putting out like on Tumblr just illustrations of like different pop culture characters doing wrestling holds as like puns. So I would do like Freddy Krueger doing a sleeper hold to Jason, or like Donkey Kong doing a gorilla clutch to Mario, and like stuff like that. And that's eventually how I broke into Marvel. Was like I had done enough of that stuff that like that overlap eventually became like my editors, and they were like, oh yeah, we know your stuff from just online or whatever. Do you do comics? And I was like, yeah, definitely.
Sure, Marvel.
I'd only done one book before I got my job at Marvel. They just see my stuff on Tumblr, and they didn't even see that book. So yeah, and then basically once I got into Marvel, I started sneaking like wrestling stuff into my books because I just got tired of like real basic action, and I like doing like cravat holds, and like I'm doing like the Pentagon Junior arm breaker where he does like a weird like a omoplata with one leg, and so I've just been like obsessing with that kind of stuff for like years, and I'm like really excited to get to show that. And you know, when Michael asked me if I wanted to do a pinup, I was like, definitely. But yeah, it took me forever to get it to him because I was so busy. I felt really bad about it.
That's awesome. And then on the other side, man, I'm curious, a question for the wrestlers on the panel, starting with Chris. You know, you have this world of comic books. It's so big, it's so colorful. You get immersed in them, you know, up to eyebrows deep in your imagination. How did the world of comic books influence your professional wrestling?
Well, funnily enough, I didn't really know that it was influencing my wrestling until way down the line. I mean, I don't remember a time when I wasn't a comic book fan, and I don't remember a time when I wasn't a wrestling fan. So I was immersed in these two worlds my whole life, basically. And it wasn't until I started basically putting a little bit of my comic book love into my wrestling, like getting gear based on comic book characters, going to comic conventions and seeing people interact with me and talk to me, and being able to talk about the things that got me into comic books, and hearing that same sort of stuff from wrestling fans. Like, I didn't realize that the crossover was so strong until then. So once I sort of became aware of it, the one thing that I think that I carried from comic books into my wrestling was I felt like comic books, especially in this day and age, they flesh out the motivation of your villains. I mean, there's no more villainy in comic books where it's just, oh, I'm going to be bad for the sake of being bad. Ha ha ha, let me tie the damsel to the train tracks and watch a train run over. They all believe that they're correct. And to me, as a bad guy in wrestling, if I'm out there and I believe in the reasons that I'm doing what I'm doing, and I feel like I'm the good guy, I feel like that's much more of a textured character than just going out there and going, oh, I'm going to cheat because I can cheat. I feel like if I'm out there trying to be the good guy, but still cheating to get there and trying to get those things, now I have 3 dimensions rather than just, I wear black and I'm the bad guy, so there. If I have legitimate reasons why I'm evil, even though to me it's not evil, at least then people can sort of pick up on that and sort of like me, dislike me, whatever their reaction is to me as a character. But I mean, it's founded in some sort of reality rather than just, oh, I'm going to play this part because I know I should.
Right. I'm the bad guy.
Right.
And how about you, Mikel?
Yeah, no, very much like Chris, you know, I've got various ring gear based on, you know, comic book characters, you know, Green Lantern's my favorite character, so obviously, you know, I started out, you know, I did have the Green Lantern gear, very much like Hurricane, but then when I turned heel, I had Red Lantern gear, and then I'm rocking Yellow Lantern gear. You know, and every time I cut a promo, I always try and throw in some geeky zingers in there. You know, despite being badass in the ring, I always kind of like to fly my geek flag. So for those who get it, they kind of crack up and like, oh, this dude's such a geek, but he beats people up. So yeah, no, yeah, very much like Chris kind of nailed it on the head. And there's one thing I've noticed as well is like the wrestlers who are big comic book fans, or big fans of like various other forms of storytelling. They have a better grasp on villainy and heroism. You know, guys like Chris, you know, and CM Punk and stuff, they know how to really give you layered, textured characters, you know, who skirt along that moral the moralities, and yeah, a lot of the best bad guys are the ones who feel like they're doing everything for the greater good. You know, guys like Sinestro or Dr. Doom and everything, you know. Black Adam, you know, they're very much propelled by, you know, trying to help the people. It's just the way they go about it is a bit dubious. So yeah, so that's how I find, you know, comics really kind of helps wrestlers, you know, those who are fans. You know, it kind of gives you a better grasp on what makes, I guess, characters human. Makes characters, you know, like wrestling is full of characters. Yeah, yeah, and that's how I picture it. You know, when I go out to work a crowd, I'm like, okay, what's going to really pull on those heartstrings or make people boo or cheer? You know, as someone that they could relate to, regardless of how frilly or over the top their costumes are. It all boils down to the character you're portraying, and if people can latch onto what you're doing in the ring, then you get more emotional investment, which is what our main goal is as wrestlers, is to really get that emotional investment from our fans.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Now, Mikel, on the flip side, how has wrestling inspired your art?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, very much, wrestling, they're both storytelling, one hurts the body, one hurts the soul. Very much, I bring elements of both forms of storytelling, and like Ramon as well, when it comes to the action, I very much think of it like a match, and it's like, okay, what's the high spot here that really needs the main panel real estate, for this page, and I actually act out some of the fight scenes that I get to draw, just so I get a feel for the action and kind of figuring out all of that, and wrestling as well, being able to do strikes and stuff, and it kind of helps in that aspect. And a bit of martial arts training as well, kind of helps with that. So yeah, wrestling is very much the storytelling aspect, and it, very much like how comics have layered, textured characters, wrestling does as well. You look at some of the greats, and you kind of think, okay, that's where they're coming from. You can bring that, like Ramon said, bring that into the comics world. And ring gear as well, being able to know what fabrics look like when they're stretched over your ass, and then it kind of helps, when you're drawing spandex characters and stuff like that. And elbow pads, getting to know protective gear as well. Like, there's a trace pads, there's the AMAs, and so yeah, there's stuff like that. Very much, they're both collaborative.
You kind of trailed off there. But anyway, what about you, Ramon? I mean, you touched on this already, Pentagon Jr., and obviously you're a Lucha Underground fan, but you've already kind of touched on how wrestling has inspired your art, but is there anything else you want to add to or elaborate on that topic?
I've been really fortunate that, I've been able to sort of do things outside of comics, too. I've designed some ring gear, and, I've done, a lot of fan art for wrestlers that they've seen, and done some, t-shirts and stuff, so I'm actually pretty lucky that I'm sort of starting to blend into that world. I can't really say who yet because they haven't worn it, but yeah, I've done some stuff like that, and like Michel, like Mikel was saying, just knowing how material works on characters. I don't draw a lot of comic artists where you see all their muscles and stuff. I usually like to make it look like if a person was actually wearing those clothes and they have folds over them. And I took a lot of flack because I always give people knee pads if they're going to be if it's like Batman, he should have some sort of knee pad and
Sure.
or a knee brace because he's always getting beat up and stuff. So yeah, that kind of stuff. Just the aesthetics of it are really inspiring to me, and mixing that in is it's something to set yourself apart from people that don't do that.
Awesome. Now, I feel like one of the common threads between comics and wrestling is passion. You know what I mean? The passion of the content creators in the comic book world, or the people creating content through their matches, their actions, their promos in the wrestling world. How important do you guys feel going down the line? And how about you, Mike Kingston, since we haven't spoke to you? What's your take on passion? How much passion is involved in driving these projects?
I feel like you have to. I think anytime you're trying to do something that's sort of out of the box like this, or creating anything, you have to have passion for it, because when you start, when I started, I didn't have an audience. I had to build an audience, and I work a full-time job. I work about 60 hours a week. I have a laptop in my hotel room that I do stuff on right now for my other job, but I have to be out there every weekend at wrestling shows, at Comic Cons, because you can't really expect, as an independent, you don't have a name, so it doesn't really, you're not going to get clicks for a site, so they're not going to cover you. So that's kind of what I had to do to sort of build the audience to get it to a point where, we could be successful on Kickstarter. But, if you don't love what you're doing, if you're doing it to be famous, or you're doing it to make money, you're not going to get out of bed on, Saturday morning on, 2 hours of sleep and drive 4.5 hours to Philadelphia to sell your books at a Ring of Honor show or whatnot, which I do all the time. You really need that. You really need that to sustain you. I had to drive to Memphis. It was 38 hours round trip. I had to drive down to Memphis to Nashville to pick up my books, take them to Memphis to have Jerry sign them, and then bring them back almost 2,466 miles. And it was just me in the car by myself. And you know what I mean? Like, that's not a journey that you're gonna take if you don't really believe in what you're doing. You know what I did was the right thing to do. My partner had a little snafu and it was gonna push things back. So I wanted to get the books in the hands of everybody as quick as possible. So I figured I'd just take them and then take them to Jerry and then come back home. But, you know, that's the stuff that kind of keeps you going. I mean, I don't feel it, you know, it's tiring, but I don't feel it so much. Like Thanksgiving with my in-laws, like I feel every minute of that. You know what I mean? But like, you know, 6 hours in the car, 38 hours in the car, whatever, that's all, you know, it's all in service of the greater good, so.
Plus, you're listening to podcasts. Well, it's like a telethon. When Mike Kingston is on these cross-country road trips, all of his friends will call him up and power him through the overnight drives. Like, all right, I got midnight till 1:40 a.m. Shane Helms has from 1:45 a.m. till 2:15. Daniels is on the 2:30 to 2:47. I mean, he's on TV and shit, so he has a less availability.
Yeah, my East Coast friends catch me early, my West Coast friends catch me late, but you know, it helps keep me up, keep me going. Yeah, I think if you don't have that, I mean, you're never going to get where you need to be. Like, you have to, because you're always going to have to outwork the next guy. I mean, I'm competing with, you know, Marvel and DC and characters with 70 years of brand recognition. So, like, if I want people to stop and take a look at what I'm doing, like, I have to work harder than those guys, you know? So, that's, if you don't love what you're doing, you're never going to be able to get where you need to be.
How important has passion been to your journey, both in wrestling and you've got some comic interests out in the world as well, Chris Daniels?
Well, I don't really think it's fair for me to comment on like the amount of passion it takes to write a comic book because I've written one comic book and I certainly haven't had the journey that Mike has had or Michel has had trying to get into comic books. So I mean, for me to sort of comment on that is sort of it's sort of silly, but I can definitely comment on the passion it takes to be a professional wrestler and to make a living at professional wrestling. I can tell you that I wake up in pain every day, and I will never wake up and not be in pain for the rest of my life, because as a professional wrestler, you as yourself, you're a product. And to be successful, you have to make your product as good as you can. And to be that professional wrestler, for that sort of product to become successful, you have to put it through the ringer. The first 3 months of my wrestling training, I was at my wrestling school 4 days a week, anywhere from 2 to 5, 6 hours at a time. Just basically falling down and getting back up, falling down, getting back up, falling down, getting back up. And that was just learning how to do stuff. I didn't understand the mentality of when I should do stuff or why I should do stuff until I was actually wrestling, because you can't learn that until you're in front of an actual crowd. Not your friends, not your family, not people that are there to support you, but people who don't have an emotional connection with you until after they leave. Like, that's when you learn, if you can get those people, if you can get complete strangers to sort of get behind you or get against you, then you're doing your job. But I mean, that whole meat grinder of professional wrestling training and learning how to fall so that it doesn't hurt, you've got plenty of times where you're falling down and it does hurt. And, you know, after months and months of training, you finally build up what we all call a full body callus. You know, hitting the ropes, you're bruised here and here, you know, basically the meat of your ass and the meat of your back is bruised for the first 3 months because you're running into cable. Who the hell runs into cable on purpose? Dummies like me, that's who. Yeah, that guy too. But like, after 23 years, I look back at all of the things wrong with my body. I don't have an ACL in one leg. I have a cracked bone in my neck. I have 1 ligament out of 3 that are still connected in this shoulder. And I think to myself, well, why on earth would you do this? And then I realized, well, crap, I'm doing what I love, man. I'm passionate about professional wrestling to the point where even after 23 years and waking up every day in pain and sometimes miserable and oftentimes annoying to be around, And my wife and kids can tell you all about that at some point, maybe in their podcast or when their panel goes on. I'm not sure when it is. But I mean,
a future Kevin Gill show.
Yeah, all of those aches and pains and bruises were collected and put together in this body because I love professional wrestling, and that feeling that I got watching it as a kid when I watched the Rock and Roll Express defeat the Russians for the tag team championships, when I watched Magnum TA and Nikita Koloff wrestle a best of 7, when I watched the Ultimate Warrior beat Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6, like all those feelings that I felt, those are the feelings that I'm trying to replicate in the people that watch me. And I love knowing that at some point, hopefully that lady there is going to feel that feeling from something that I do, whether it's me getting kicked in the mouth by the Young Bucks or me doing the best moonsault ever, whatever. If at any moment someone comes up to me and goes, you know what, I really appreciate what you do, like that feeling to me, now I know that I've done my job, and I wouldn't, like if they say it's best in a league of their own, if it was easy, everybody would do it. And it's not easy, folks, it's not. But I mean, if I didn't love what I would do, what I'm doing, and what I'm still doing, it's not worth it. If it's a job, holy crap, there are so much better jobs where you're not in pain. So many better jobs and probably better paying, and you know, the risk and the risk versus reward is so high because not everybody gets to make a living like I do. Whenever I'm down about my career, I look back, I look at the people, the 90% of the wrestlers who aren't making a living, who aren't, you know, getting an opportunity to be on television or do pay-per-view or anything like that. Those guys that wish they were in the spot that I'm at, and I'm so thankful for the success that I've had and the opportunities that I've been given. And, you know, and all that comes back around to the passion of like working hard and getting to that spot and finally achieving all of that, even though my mic went out. I don't know why. I don't know why, but I'll just take it. So
What's interesting is you did, and you really feel that in the story that you wrote for Headlocked, like you touched on a lot of that that sort of feeling of you know, touching the next generation.
Right.
Feeling the same thing.
They're hard.
And
Sorry, is it a humor? No.
we could share. But yeah, so I think that's cool. It's obviously something that's very important.
And talk about your passion, Michel. You're someone who's kind of bleeding, you know, on that bleeding edge between both worlds, wrestling and comic books. How important has passion been on this journey of yours, this ongoing journey, my friend?
Chris, you know, speaks for all wrestlers really. You know, you always wake up sore. You know, to be honest, I kind of had like a lower back pain, and then I flew 12 hours in the cramped seat. So now I actually have a literal pain in my ass. Like it's pretty tight.
Oh, how tight are we talking, brother?
Yeah,
We've covered ass meat now. You know, we've got
but yeah, you, as a wrestler, you never wake up pain free. But like, you know, I haven't had the career as extensive as Chris's, so I've been very fortunate not to have any major injuries at the moment. My neck, my neck is a little loose, but it's not nothing major. And I haven't had any injuries which have affected my drawing. So that's the like everyone always asks, hey, are you worried about getting injured? And because you might not be able to draw for a while. And I was like, no, when I'm an artist, I'm an artist.
You say I haven't been drawing for years?
You haven't, you're just right. I'm the one that does the drawing. When I'm an artist, I'm an artist. When I'm a wrestler, I'm a wrestler. And if you doubt yourself, if you think, oh, hopefully in this match I don't hurt myself, that's when you actually hurt yourself. And one thing I always talk about when being a wrestler is that through your extensive training to become a pro wrestler, you have to kind of override your body's own self-defense mechanisms. You know, you kind of have to throw caution to the wind and just do it, not think about it, because when you think about it, that's when you get hurt. And so that's why we do a lot of stupid stuff. I was going to say another word, but it's kissing back. A lot of stupid stuff, but we love it. And whenever anything feels like it's too much and it's becoming a job, I always have to kind of take a step back and realize, dude, you're a pro wrestler and a comic book artist. You could be like doing so much worse stuff for money than those. You know, enjoy it. And so I'm pretty fortunate. Like, you know, I'm not a big star or anything, but I enjoy what I do, and that's all you can really ask for. Is, you know, if you're working on your passions, you really have to love what you do, and I'm very fortunate to be able to do that.
You're my favorite wrestler.
That's awesome.
That you've never watched.
And Ramon, you know, your passion, I think, is evident. It comes through in your artwork and in the stories you've shared with us today. But can you elaborate any more on the passion it took to go from being a fan who liked to draw, so to speak, to being an industry standard, if I may use that term?
Yeah, well, to tie in a little bit with what Christopher was talking about, the last time that I really kind of reflected on that was when Brian Danielson retired, and he gave that really great speech about just all the struggles and like how he wakes up in pain and how he'll never be able to do that again. It just like really got to me about how lucky I am that I can't, like, unless I like lose my hand or something, like it won't get taken away from me, and I'm so lucky and fortunate, and that's why like I appreciate wrestlers. So, like, thank you, Christopher, but, like, you know, they put their bodies on the line to do that, and I don't have to. Like, I'm pretty fortunate. I just draw a lot, and I stay up, like, ridiculously late. But yeah, no, I've just been, you know, I draw a lot, like I said, and it's been really great to be able to, like, work for Marvel. Like, my last book, East for Extinction, I had, like, this amazing opportunity to do a comic that like was my favorite X-Men comic, a sequel to it. So now, like, when people look up like new X-Men, East for Extinction, I'm right there alongside like Frank White, who's my favorite artist of all time, and Grant Morrison, who's my favorite writer of all time. Like, that's insane. Like, I never thought I'd have the opportunity to do that. And when like one of my like really great friends died, like I got to give him like a really great like tribute in my like first Marvel book. So like I've been given like incredible opportunities, and yeah, when he spoke about like all those opportunities he got and like having to see him walk away, it just like it honestly made me cry, and I was like, oh man, I'm so lucky, and I got to be like so much more grateful for what I have, because.
But I would also say that you weren't given opportunities; you earned those opportunities.
Yeah, no, I definitely earned them. Trust me, I know that. But like lots of people work very hard,
Sure,
and they don't always get to go where I'm at. Because, like, you know, I did one independent book and then I worked at Marvel. So that's insane, right?
his attitude is gratitude, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely.
The gratitude era.
The gratitude era begins now on this special edition of the Kevin Gill Show. Now, one of the things I love most about Headlocked is that Headlocked as a series is completely crowdfunded. It's all done via Kickstarter. Every book is brought to you essentially by not just the great writers and artists, but also the fans that are ingrained in that process. I'm curious if we could all go down the panel here and just speak about how it feels to be so directly connected to your fans, that their desire for the product and their demand for more books is what keeps the series alive, keeps it all moving forward.
So yeah, this is definitely the gratitude part, I guess. But you know, when I started Headlocked, you know, I pitched it to people, and you know, I tell the story all the time. But like, there were people that laughed at me, like publishers, like straight up laughed in my face. I had people say wrestling fans don't read, you know, even though Mick Foley's got multiple best-selling books, you know, and all kinds of. I heard it all, and you know, so the comic book side of things wasn't necessarily, you know, ready for Headlocked. So you know, the wrestling fans totally helped me build it. You know, by going to shows and the wrestling media sort of promoting it, and then the wrestlers wanting to, you know, put some shine on it, and that's all been amazing. And one of the things I like to do is just we try to get back. Like, there's so many things in the books that we do, the Kickstarter books that have. And we draw people in, like people will support the book and be drawn into crowds and be drawn in as wrestlers. Like, at this point, probably half of the wrestlers in the book came from crowdfunding, and we use people's faces, and it just, everything's been like a grassroots, you know, from the bottom up. Like, I mean, if you have a copy of Headlock, it's been in my hands. You probably bought it from me, unless you bought it in New Zealand. But you know, I think that's really sort of, I don't know, it blows my mind all the time. And I think about sort of, you know, where we started and where we are. And I mean, we still got a long way to go, obviously. But yeah, the Kickstarters are the lifeblood of the book, and we always try to make sure that the people who back the books with Kickstarter get a better book. Like Chris's story is in the Kickstarter books, but you can't buy that from me at my table. Ramon's art is in the Kickstarter book. Like, we try to make sure that the people who back the book through Kickstarter get the best of everything, because those are the people who really, more than anybody else, really put us, you know, where we are today. So
Made the book possible.
yeah.
Right, literally. And the thing is, what's interesting is, though, even though there's a brand new Headlock graphic novel out right now with the Jerry Lawler cover, with all the incredible contributions in art and story form, that you guys are also now quite a bit of ways along in your brand new Kickstarter. Can you tell us more about the next book in the series, if you will?
So when I first did the very first book, it's, you know, it's the thing that we built everything on, but, you know, we've sort of grown so much since then. Everybody that was a part of that, like, it was their first book, and, you know, this was before Michel was a part of it. You know, the artist did a fantastic job, but he was brand new, and we had a first-time colorist, and, you know, I'm to the point now where, like, all three of the books are on the table, and people would go for that book, and I'd be like, no, look at this one first. So what we're doing is we're inking and recoloring the entire book. Jerry's putting a new cover on it, because, I mean, he's even advanced so much. I mean, he wasn't really doing art consistently when he started, and now he's doing these amazing Norman Rockwell covers. So we're inking and recoloring the entire book. We're putting about 50 new pages of content into it, and we have stories from Samoa Joe, the Young Bucks, and MVP, and that's, again, that's stuff that people can only get through the Kickstarter book. And we try to give people real value for being a part of it. Like I said, I have a job that pays my bills. I mean, I'm not rich by any stretch, but, you know, if I could write Headlock for 10 years and never make a dime and never lose a dime, like, I would totally call that a win. So, you know, we just try to get the artists paid and the printers paid and everything, and then just, you know, put it out into the world and hope that people dig it. So we do have a new Kickstarter up right now, and it's there's a lot of cool things that you can get out of it. And then we might be running, we'll either be running another one in July for volume 4, and we have like the sickest lineup. I can't even tell you, I'm so super excited about it. So just keep your eyes open.
And I think it's notable that in a world of fake Kickstarters or fake GoFundMes that don't deliver anything, here's a series that not only delivers, but there's no, your money goes to nothing else but to making the book happen, period. You know what I mean? There's no late night room service, there's no gentleman club speculation, there's no unlimited Jack and Coke. Well, for the talent there is. But that comes from a different budget. That's not from the Kickstarter budget. So that's really what's up. And is there anything, just go down the line quickly, maybe starting with Ramon, if there's anything you guys want to say on the outro. There's Headlock stuff available out right now. You can come up here in a moment if you want to purchase some Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels merchandise. That's about to go down. It's all going down. So please, Ramon, anything you want to say on the outro? We are out of this bitch.
Yeah, if you can, pre-order Nighthawk and get East for Extinction on Amazon, I guess. That's it.
And where can people find you?
At Ramon Villalobos on Twitter, newcoolmeat.com, and that's it, yeah. Who's up? Go ahead.
You know, thanks for everyone that supported us. You know, it does mean a lot to Mike and I that, you know, when we start out on this venture, we never really know what the reception is going to be, and to get such a great reception for our Kickstarters, and to get new people following us, and new wrestlers interested in what we're doing, is the coolest feeling, you know. So thank you for everyone that's in attendance today too, because I was expecting like 2 people, like Mike Millerick and then someone else. But so thank you for showing up and listening to us talk crap for almost an hour. No, thanks. You know, just kind of is one of the highlights of, you know, leaving New Zealand is getting to talk to people. You can find me on my website, www.bloodysamoan.com. My Twitter handle is Bloody Samoan.
Samoan in English.
Right.
And for the record, I'm aware of his Twitter handle obviously for a long time, but I always thought it was Bloody Samoan, i.e. wrestling, Bloody Samoan, red turns to green. But I learned just this weekend that it is like, Bloody Samoan.
Yeah, it's something I heard as a little kid all the time. Like, you Bloody Samoan. You Bloody Samoan. So I kind of took that negative connotation and turned it into something positive. But yeah, no, that's anything involved with me is Bloody Samoan. So yes, you can find me there.
And Chris, your electrifying reigns in Ring of Honor, currently airing nationally on the Comet Network, I believe on Wednesday nights, if I'm not mistaken. So peep you out there, but where else can people get more Christopher Daniels, including Pro Wrestling Tees action?
You can follow me on Twitter at FAC Daniels. My Pro Wrestling Tees is prowrestlingtees.com/Christopher Daniels. And yeah, please check us out, rohwrestling.com. If you can't watch it on Comet or a syndicated channel, you can watch it on the website Thursday after it airs Wednesday night. And that's a company that really appreciates its fan base. So from the roster of Ring of Honor, if you're watching us, if you're where we are today, if it wasn't for your support, 14 years and running, and the best wrestling on the planet. So thank you very much.
And some people say that the wrestling industry overall today wouldn't be what it was without Ring of Honor. So think about that. The people make Ring of Honor redefines the industry. It's the perfect circle, Mike Kingston.
And I would like to say too that, you know, from the moment I started, like Ring of Honor has always been a huge supporter of what we've done. Like they bought ads for me like before I had any like names attached. They let me sell books at their shows, which is something they really do with a lot of people. They still let me, they've changed management, they still let me come to their shows. So, you know, they're really, really awesome, and they've been really, really supportive.
Headlockcomic.com is the place to go. Google or search for Headlocked on Kickstarter. Please, I invite everyone to check out KevinGillShow.com, also on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher, chock full of in-person audio with some of your favorite personalities from wrestling, video games, music, and a whole lot more. So we thank you for attending this special WonderCon edition of the Kevin Gill Show Headlock Themed Panel. And let's give the panel and yourselves a huge round of applause. Keep that PLA.